There's a formula for success, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Good news, it's not about how smart you are, where you were born, or any of that. All right, guys, let's get gritty. Hey, yo, and what's up, tribe? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about grit and why it matters for you. Dr. Angela Duckworth discovered this idea of grit when she wanted to understand what the common theme amongst successful people were, from spelling bee champions to those who brought themselves out of adversity. That trait is grit. What is grit and what does it tell us? It tells us that effort brings nonlinear results to whatever you want out of life. What's that formula that I mentioned? Well, first, skill equals talent times effort. And it's worth noting that we all have many hidden talents. They're just buried in our why. But what about success and achievement? Well, that's skill times effort. So if you do the algebra, we have success or achievement is equal to talent times effort squared. That means that effort over the long haul brings non-linear results. Look at it as a curve, and it means that you won't see much results until you've put down the effort over time. Then eventually, bam! Hey, for me, one example of that was learning Spanish. Each day, once I found Duolingo, I did my part to learn the language, even if it was just like 5 minutes at a time. It sounds odd, but I didn't even realize I was speaking Spanish well enough until I passed that point of competency. Life's like that sometimes. But you've got to push through that rough start. Grit, according to Dr. Duckworth, is passion and perseverance on long-term goals. Long-term being the point. It is perseverance through the suck. It's work ethic. It's a growth mindset, and it's trusting the process. That last part we often forget when we get mired at the bottom of that curve. Let's talk about some great examples. Michael Jordan exemplifies this idea of grit. You know, he talks constantly about he taking the shot and missing, losing a lot of games, but it wasn't without those failures that he was able to learn. He was often told, no, you can't be on the basketball team. And he learned to practice, he learned to persevere, and that's how he ended up being the successful basketball player and businessman that he is. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is another one. Look at his schedule. He is constantly working and pushing forward. He's having fun while he's doing it, but he still really exemplifies what it means to push through. So how can you develop your grit? I'm going to give you 8 things that you can do starting today that can help you develop your grit and generally move forward to more success. The first thing is to surround yourself with grittier people. Remember, tribe, you are the average of those that you spend time with. I've heard it called the 5 monkey theory. So think about who you are with and how that affects you. Perfect example. I am in a small friend group of 4 individuals. 3 of us are runners, and guess what? That 4th person eventually started running because of the time that she was spending with us. So it just happens, you start doing that which other people are around you doing. The second thing, trust the process. Be comfortable with that slow and methodical progress. Cultivate your hope, as Duckworth says, to trust that the effort is worth it. 3, break down your goals to smaller, more reasonable goals. Oftentimes we've got these big ideas as to what we want to do, and we forget the little pieces that are part of it. Like, let's say you want to run a marathon. Well, maybe you need to get comfortable running a full mile before you even get to those 26 miles. Maybe it's even a half mile. Part of it's also understanding what you might have to do on a daily basis to do that, from running or not running to stretching. So remember, break your goals down into something more reasonable for you. 4, remove negative self-talk. You can do it, and this will be important when you have setbacks. That's right, when you have setbacks. 5, commit to that process when you least want to do it. The hardest runners or cyclists are out in the cold and rain or the killer heat in the desert, wherever they happen to be. And the best students are at the library when they could be out partying. Obviously, it's important to take a rest when you're doing certain things, but remember, part of it means scheduling when you're going to do something and doing it even if you don't want to. 6 is to develop your passion and develop your why. And that's where you develop the talent side of that equation. You have to really want it. There has to be a good reason, a passion for doing what you want to do. That way you'll really get through that suck. 7, you've got to do it regularly. You've got to do it often. Will Smith once said that skill is only developed by hours of beating on your craft, not other actors. you took it too far. And finally, 8, build new habits. And habit stack. If you haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear, great book that talks about how you can put habits on top of other habits and eventually the habits start to work together to create them. Okay, there you go, tribe. Just understanding that grit is super important for getting what you want out of life. Doing it requires you to have a little bit of resilience, but to get through it, to do it regularly, and I know you can. Remember, results aren't overnight, but it will seem like that to a lot of other individuals, and that's okay. You just have to trust that you can get through it. And I know you can. So there you go. Hey, if you like this video, please hit the bell icon, subscribe, and like this video. As always, I hope you're a little bit better today than you were yesterday, and I'm looking forward to you being a little bit better tomorrow than you were today. Take care, tribe.